lump sum equivalent to 12 of your monthly mortgage or rent payments, right up to a whopping £20,000. Plus, we'll add an extra £5,000 on top for good measure. Make sure you don't miss out as lines close on the 29th of August. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB15 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 29th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters. Real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Hello, good evening. It's 11 o'clock. I'm Ben Leo, and this is Ben Leo Tonight, late edition.
Fancy another one? Do you want another one?
There isn't a person listening to this show that will not know somebody who is desperate to get on the housing ladder, so therefore we're determined to turn that tide.
Yes, I love that. Well done, producers. Not another one. Angela Rayner splashes £800,000 on a third home. At the very same time, her department is cracking down on second home owners. Plus,
not going to increase the taxes that working people pay, their income tax, their national insurance and their VAT.
Yeah. Can Chancellor Rachel Reeves keep that promise as Labour risks sending the economy back to the 1970s? That's as economists warn we're heading towards an IMF bailout. Elsewhere, the BBC hit by another scandal. A Strictly star is tonight arrested on suspicion of rape, and yet another blow for the show and the corporation. And the jailed Ghislaine Maxwell says she never saw President Trump act inappropriately with that man there, Jeffrey Epstein. We'll head stateside very shortly to get the latest. A shocking exclusive in the Mail. In fact, one of the worst stories of the night. A migrant who lived as a tourist in 3 European countries went on to arrive in the UK via a small boat and raped a 15-year-old girl. Joining me on the panel tonight, the former Labour Party Special Advisor, Paul Richards, the journalist and broadcaster, Linda Jubilee, and incoming, a new addition for this final hour, GB News star and comedian, Leo Kearse. And why do you reckon President Trump is so excited to wear shorts?
They put on shorts. I look extremely good in shorts. Enjoying the play.
People that know me will know I love a pair of shorts. Find out the reason for President Trump's admiration for short shorts very soon. First, though, let's get your news headlines with Lewis Mackenzie.
Good evening. Here are your latest GB News headlines. The Met Police have confirmed a Strictly Come Dancing star has been arrested on suspicion of rape. An investigation has been launched into the dancing contest, with police also receiving allegations involving non-consensual intimate image abuse. A BBC spokesman has said it would not be appropriate to comment on this ongoing investigation. We'll, of course, bring you more as we have it here on GB News. Now, it's been reported that the Prime Minister will overhaul the asylum appeal system in an effort to deport failed asylum seekers faster and prevent the hotel crisis derailing the government's immigration strategy. The Times are reporting that the main tribunal courts used by failed refugees to challenge Home Office decisions are to be phased out and replaced by a fast-track system under plans set to be announced by ministers within weeks. This comes as hundreds of protesters and counter-protesters gathered outside hotels housing asylum seekers all across the UK today. Demonstrations were held in major towns and cities in England, including Bristol, Liverpool, Newcastle and central London. Meanwhile, Nigel Farage has vowed that if he becomes Prime Minister, 5 deportation flights would leave the UK every day under plans to tackle illegal immigration. In an interview with The Times, the Reform UK leader says Britain is facing what he calls a massive crisis, and the only way forward is to detain and deport all migrants who arrive illegally. His plans would take Britain out of the European Convention on Human Rights and opt out of the UN Convention Against Torture and other international agreements. Angela Rayner has come under fire for reportedly buying a third home worth around £800,000. The Sun on Sunday says the Deputy Prime Minister, who is also the Housing Secretary, bought the flat near Brighton despite owning a home near Ashton-under-Lyme and having a ministerial apartment in Westminster. It comes as Miss Rayner's department has started levying an extra 100% council tax charge on second homes. The Shadow Housing Secretary, James Cleverly, says she is responsible for housing policy, yet won't even be straight about her own. Ghislaine Maxwell has told US officials she never saw President Donald Trump act inappropriately. In an interview with the US Justice Department in July, the convicted sex trafficker said President Trump was, quote, always very cordial and very kind. Miss Maxwell, who is serving a 20-year prison sentence for helping Jeffrey Epstein sexually abuse underage girls, also denied any knowledge of a client list. She added that she does not believe Epstein died by suicide. And finally, one of the world's most active volcanoes has erupted again. Hawaii's Kilauea volcano started shooting arcs of lava 100 foot into the air early this morning. This marks Kilauea's 31st eruption since December, with the molten rock contained within the summit crater, therefore posing no threat to nearby homes. I'm Lewis Mackenzie, and those are your latest GB News headlines.
Tune into GB News Radio wherever you are, online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Hello, welcome along to Ben Leo Tonight, late edition. It's 11 o'clock. Let's whiz through the first of tomorrow's papers, starting with The Sun on Sunday. Great story, which we'll discuss in just a second. The Deputy Prime Minister, Angela Rayner, has bought a third home for more than £700,000. The Sun calls her Three Pads Rayner. One of those houses of the three is, of course, the Grace and Favour home she lives in as Deputy PM in Admiralty House. However, we will discuss that in just a second. The Mail on Sunday leads with the same story, although they say it's £800,000 and not £700,000. Maybe, I assume, they've included something like stamp duty and fees in that. Rayner shells out £800,000 for her third home. That's as Labour, says the Mail, turns the screw on second homeowners. The Independent Rapist nurse was allowed to carry on working for a year. And there's a picture there from an anti-migrant protest outside asylum hotels. Stand Up to Racism were there again. They've been bussed in. Nice lot. Sunday Express. Border farce, outrage at bonus payouts. So despite 111,000 people claiming asylum in the UK in the year to June, and of course the small boats crisis, some Border Force officials saw their salaries rise by as much as 24% last year. Some raked in a 15k bonus. All right for some. The Sunday Telegraph, Rachel Reeves heading for an IMF bailout. This is according to one economist who warns that a 70s-style debt crisis is on the horizon unless the Chancellor changes course. And just down the bottom there of the Sunday Telegraph, Nigel Farage will head to the United States on September the 3rd and speak to Congress to talk about Lucy Connolly's case, her claims that she's a political prisoner of Keir Starmer, and indeed free speech. The Sunday Mirror, Princess Diana dragged into the Epstein scandal. This is off the back of Ghislaine Maxwell's interview with the Department for Justice in the United States. Maxwell claims Princess Diana was set up on a date with the paedophile financier. She denies introducing Prince Andrew to Epstein as well. The Observer, after Epping, John Simpson gives a report outside the Bell Hotel. I've already said once tonight, this is a very strange front page, which doesn't really make sense. Somebody else is writing about the fear being back somewhere, and somebody else says Nigel Farage has something to do with money. I don't get the front page, I'm sorry. The Sunday Times, Keir Starmer is to curb judges' powers in asylum cases. As protests over the use of migrant hotels grow, the PM overhauls appeal system to cut the backlog. And Kemi Badenoch, just at the top there, says there are racists who say I reached the top only because I'm black. Welcome along to the panel. Linda Jubilee, Paul Richards and Leo Kearse. Leo, can we talk about the Sun? What do you fancy, Sun or the Mail? Same story. What's your preferred page?
Yeah, the Sun. The Sun with three pads Rayner, which I thought was bullying her over how many menstrual products she used.
Oh.
But it's not. It's about homes.
Oh, God. No, I think it means homes.
Yeah, it does mean homes. I read the story. I do that level of research for this show. So she's Angela Rayner's bought a third home for more than £700,000 or up to £800,000.
So is this a problem?
I think it's great. I mean, it's not a problem for her. She's accruing, some wealth to see her through life. I think it's brilliant when, a working class girl, she left school at, what, 15? And was pregnant at 15?
Yeah.
16, and she's managed to do really well for herself under the Tories. Under 14 years of Tory rule, she managed to earn a lot of money, and it's great to see her, absorbing some of those Tory attitudes and accruing some property. I think nothing safer than bricks and mortar.
Well, unless you're a subject of Labour's government, because they want to swipe people's homes under inheritance tax proposed reforms. They want to up tax on second homes and so on. So,
and they may want to introduce tax on principal homes as well.
Yeah, so you say nothing's safer than bricks and mortar, but
that's the thing. Not. That's the thing. If more Labour politicians own homes instead of being leeches on the state, or, you can be both. But if more of them own homes, they're not going to pass laws taxing people's homes because they're not going to hit their own pockets like that. So this is a great move.
Yeah. All right, we've already discussed this tonight, you two. Paul, you think there's nothing wrong with it?
Well, we want people to own their own homes, and she's one of them.
Yeah, good for her.
You also think, Leo, Paul thinks Angela Rayner doesn't care what the country thinks. Is that a good thing for a politician? You stand by that comment,
well,
by the way?
I think it's a bad thing. She's somebody who just gets on with it, when she's doing her DJing or the dry robe on the beach with it. She's not a champagne socialist, by the way. She's a rosé socialist, and she just thinks, I'm going to get on with my life. And why not?
Yeah, I think that's great. Keir Starmer has to run everything by 17 focus groups before he does anything. He can't even put an order in at KFC before doing that. So at least she's just sticking to her guns and being honest and saying,
this is life.
Yeah.
And what's wrong with that?
Exactly.
Well, my only problem with it is, again, I'll repeat myself from the last hour or two, it was Rayner last year who was saying every borough of the UK will be taking their fair share of migrants. Now, I know that doesn't mean everybody should be taking a migrant in their home.
Maybe she meant zero.
Well, you've got 3 properties there. You've got Admiralty House, which is a Grace and Favour home as the Deputy Prime Minister. She's allowed to live in there for free, where she spent, again, I say, £7,000 on 2 beds, £7,000 of taxpayer money. Then you've got your constituency house, and then you've got this now flat in Hove. So I'd argue give up one of those homes to Serco for free so they can house maybe 6 or 7 asylum seekers.
Over-optimistic.
Each of those boroughs, so Greater Manchester, Brighton and Hove and Westminster City Council, are all taking on people that you're talking about. And that's what she said. It needs to be dispersed so we don't have these flashpoints of hotels.
Well, she lives in 3 boroughs, so she can maybe set aside one of them to house some asylum seekers.
No one has suggested that individuals have to give up their home.
Oh, no, I've suggested that. I think it's a great idea. I think, honestly, I see all these lefties on Twitter, all your Carol Vorder persons and your Gary Linekers being like, oh no, of course, guys, we need to have open borders. We need to encourage as many, young men from the third world to come here as possible for some reason, even though they're often from violent medieval cultures. They're completely insulated from any negative impact because they live in posh, leafy suburbs of nice cities. We need to get the people with these opinions forced to live with the consequences of their opinions. Why are migrants being dumped on communities that haven't asked for them and putting young girls at risk who haven't asked for them either?
Yeah, and somebody else, John. Good evening, John from Leicester. John, by the way, just a quick one to you. You've been a big supporter of GB News and me for a long time, so I appreciate it. And hopefully I will talk to you and say goodbye to you before I go to the US. You've said, Ben, I think you're missing the property that she had with that other friend she had, the Labour MP from... Is that Sam Terry, the Labour MP from Manchester? Didn't they go halves on a property in London? I don't know if she still has the property. As Leo said, I think these lefties, these politicians who are big advocates of open borders and want these people, they're so virtuous. Of course we need to save refugees. Of course we need to house these people. All right, you first. Yeah. You go first and lead by example.
Let's remove the borders on their houses. Take their front doors off their hinges.
Yeah, exactly. Right, let's look at a story that's inside the Mail on Sunday tomorrow. Actually, in all seriousness now, I think it's one of the more shocking stories that I've had to talk about on this show over recent months. A small boats migrant who raped a 15-year-old girl after claiming asylum in Britain had lived as a tourist in 3 European cities before arriving in the UK. His name was Sadek Nikzad, 29, travelled 4,000 miles from his native Afghanistan to reach the UK and seek asylum around 2 years before his attack on a 15-year-old girl. A Daily Mail investigation reveals how he travelled through at least 3 safe countries and lived very happily as a tourist before arriving in Falkirk in Stirlingshire, Scotland, where he attacked a schoolgirl yards from his migrant hotel. He was jailed 9 years for rape. So this was an incident in Scotland, Leo. So, I mean, it's just indicative of the absurd situation this country finds itself in.
Yeah, and I've noticed some people on the left saying, oh, but why is there so much focus on asylum seekers, on migrants or whatever? But the fact is that men from Afghanistan, in particular, are overrepresented. I think it's 20 or 23 times higher in the statistics than the general population. So that's a huge overrepresentation. And, I've got to ask these lefties, how many assaulted children is a good number for you? I mean, for me, it's 0. Yeah. So why can't we do everything we can to stop that happening? And I'm sorry if some of these guys have to go back to Afghanistan, have to go back to Pakistan or wherever else. I'd rather they have to suffer the country that they were born in and the culture that they're part of than children in this country have to suffer.
Yeah. By the way, just before we move on, what do you make of Reform's mass deportations announcement coming Tuesday? So detention centres sent off to the likes of Ascension Island, deals with possibly Iraq, Iran, Albania and so on. Yeah. No right to appeal. I mean, it sounds pretty tough, but what people want.
It really shows how the Overton window has shifted and how the British population is really starting to... Things that would have been radical a couple of years ago, even 6 months ago, are now pretty mainstream. And it's, people think it's racist. There's a lot of British people who are not white who agree with this, and I was talking to a guy at the weekend in B&Q, and he was saying he's kind of worried about because he's not white, he's worried about the increase in immigration causing a backlash on him that's not deserved.
Oh yeah, that's a very, very good point. But to retrack a little bit there, one of the problems you've got here is that this was a problem that wasn't tackled, it wasn't nipped in the bud, it wasn't tackled early on, and it grew and it grew and it grew. So consequently, the solution to that is far more radical than it needed to be in the first place. Yeah. And actually, to address your point right now, and now people who actually don't deserve to be dragged into this net are dragged into it and are concerned.
Yeah, really quickly, Paul, what do you make of this this bloke? He travelled through France, Germany, another country as well. He was a tourist living there, and then he came to Scotland and raped a girl.
It's completely sickening. Good for the Daily Mail for exposing this, and I'm glad he's banged up for 9 years. I hope he serves all of them.
OK. Right, coming up after the break, Ghislaine Maxwell's interview with Donald Trump's deputy attorney. All the details have been published. Apparently, Donald Trump is innocent, of course, of anything to do with Epstein. Princess Diana allegedly arranged a date with Epstein as well, and there's more revelations to come as well. The full transcripts have been released. I'll be discussing that shortly in just a tick. On Ben Leo Tonight, late edition.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
This is going to be a concern for some people, but the government points to data, very, very clear data, that shows the risk of accident shoots well up over the age of 70.
Good afternoon. Yes, I've had a look at that data today as well, and you're right, it shows that while accidents involving young people, serious accidents, have gone down in recent years, those involving older people have actually gone up a little bit. And I think the problem at the moment is we don't really know why that is and what's behind that. But if you look at what is published, the statistics and the views of the police, it doesn't actually suggest that problems with people's eyes are the main contributor. So it may or may not be a good idea to have a mandatory eye test for motorists. Actually, we'd probably say not just for older people, but for everybody. But it's not clear that that would really impact very significantly on the number of accidents. I think the reason 70 may have been chosen is because that's the age at which you have to renew your driving licence. But is that the right age? Should that be 75? As you say, in a way, you know, ageing is changing over time, and a lot of people are very fit and well at 70 and at 75. So I think it does run the risk of looking ageist to just be suggesting that it's people over 70 who should have an eye test, because, of course, we can develop eye problems at any time in our lives.
I suppose there is the argument, though, you're more likely to the older you get, and the point at which this kicks in is always going to be debated. For me, I think one of the bigger issues is access and availability. If this is going to be a massive waiting list for people that actually stops them accessing their own vehicles, this is going to be a big present problem.
GB News, the People's Channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And
the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Ben Leo Tonight, late edition. I'm joined now stateside by newspaper columnist Bob Weiner. Good evening, Bob. Let's talk about the Ghislaine Maxwell situation. The transcripts, Bob, have been released of the DOJ's interview with Ghislaine in prison. Of course, she was jailed for 20-odd years for her part in the Epstein scandal, trafficking and so on. She says President Trump was never in an inappropriate setting with Jeffrey Epstein, never in an inappropriate setting with anybody. Also, Bill Clinton, she says, never did anything wrong either, despite him flying to Epstein's very strange, weird island many, many times. What's your take on this Ghislaine Maxwell situation, Bob?
Well, the big news across America, Ben, is that you're coming.
And we are so proud to have you and welcome. Congratulations on your show. I saw your tie. I saw that you were going to be doing it. So thank you for coming over, and you're going to make our news better. We need help. We need help. Now, on Maxwell and on Epstein, they are so afraid of everything coming out, and you and I have talked about this. You know that House Speaker Mike Johnson says that her 20 years should be 100. Nobody should be talking about a pardon. It's a disgrace. There have been 1,000 clients. And so they've moved her to a play camp for a prison because she knows everything about Epstein, because she was his administrative assistant. And the other thing about Epstein, Ben, that hasn't come out, and I saw a video on it, this explains it to me why the cover-up, actually. It's the banks. It's Chase, it's Bank of America, it's Bear Stearns. It's those who funded Epstein, whose big deal was the financing, and they did it with a wink and a nod, knowing what he was doing, and yet they funded him. So that's one of the main reasons, you know, we bail out the big banks. We do everything for the big banks in America. So that's what's going on here. Trump, the big financier, that explained a lot to me when I saw that, and that explanation passes my common sense test.
Yeah, interesting point about the banks, Bob. It was I just googled the guy. I couldn't remember. I thought it was Jeb Stanley. It's Jez Stanley, the former Barclays CEO, who of course was linked to financing Epstein before and being his facilitator for big money. There's a lawsuit going on at the moment. A month ago, a judge rejected Jez Stanley's request to dismiss the case, paving the way for class action lawsuits against all the banks, including the aforementioned banks that you've just mentioned. Ghislaine Maxwell, though, has said as well that Prince Andrew, the infamous picture of Prince Andrew with the young girl, Virginia Giuffre, she said it was fake. I mean, do you believe... I mean, Prince Andrew, just by the way, Prince Andrew denies any wrongdoing. He says he can't remember the picture, says it was fake as well. What's your take on that?
My take is the FBI had 1,000 people deleting the big names in the report, and she doesn't want us to talk the truth about anything. She is a convicted felon liar, convicted on, and with the pedophile assistance that she gave to Epstein, and she's trying her hardest to get out of jail. So I wouldn't believe a thing that she says. I heard today that the flight logs, and I've known this, and we've all known this, are part of the records. So even if there is a client list. But even if there isn't, the flight logs are going to have everybody on it, and to and from and where they went. And those are being talked about as among the things that can be released. So it's all going to come out. There are over 250 co-sponsors in the Congress. Bipartisan. They want it out. The Speaker of the House is against Trump on this, the one who he put in. And so that's going to happen. Their Epstein issue will not die, and it's the one flaw that Trump has now in the MAGA base, because they love what he's doing on immigration. They love the horrible message, even though it's terrible what he's doing, the inhumanity. They love what he's doing to arresting his people who are against him and have spoken with free speech, like Bolton and Schiff and Letitia James.
Yeah, John Bolton is seen, with respect to the man, he seems absolutely deranged. Every time I open the Telegraph online, he's just spouting some absolute venomous drivel against Trump, and he's just obsessed with him, John Bolton. There he is. I mean, the guy's unhinged.
I agree that Bolton is volatile. There's no question. But still, for Trump to be processed, you know, they did the investigation of Bolton when he was first in, and they came up with nothing illegal. And Trump to make an issue out of the classified documents when he put his that he stole, and the National Archives asked him to give back, and he wouldn't, like every other president has, and he put him in a bathroom, and he put it in his living room at Mar-a-Lago. He's going to go after somebody for classified documents, and the other people he's going after for mortgage fraud. The one thing that Lacey Clay, the congressman, who was a friend of mine, who has said, did he undervalue or overvalue? And the answer was, yes, he did. And that's what Letitia James found. And that's what she prosecuted him on, was overvaluing and undervaluing his properties. So he's going after these people because he's looking in the mirror. So with Trump, it's always projection.
Bob, the New York, the Attorney General, Letitia James, in that case, which was absolute lawfare, surely you can agree, even the banks who gave President Trump those loans at the time said they had no problem with it. It wasn't even the banks, it was the crazed far leftist Letitia James going after Trump. It was lawfare. So can you blame President Trump, Bob? Seriously, from a human perspective, the guy was accused of colluding with Russia to rig an election, complete fabrication, absolute BS, false. He affected his first term, ruined. People going after him for lawfare, Letitia James making up stuff about mortgage fraud when the banks didn't care. It went on and on and on. So can you blame President Trump for wanting to get a bit of revenge?
The only thing I could say is $500 million is a lot of money to charge for a fine. And what usually happens is the courts will reduce the fines, even if they reduce it to something like $15 million fine. So he has abused his authority to more of an extent than anybody who ever voted for him ever wanted him to do. And that is why he's down 20 points in all the polls right now with all the abuses and the inhumanity of what he's doing. He's down. And if the election were held today, he would lose by 20 points. And that's why he's trying to steal a few seats.
Well, who would he? I don't believe that. Who would he lose to, Bob?
You mentioned Gavin Newsom. He's doing a real good job of being an opposition candidate right now. That's one, but it's one of about 7 or 8 that you can always look up who the main candidates are. There are some very good candidates out there.
Ron DeSantis absolutely rinsed Gavin Newsom. I mean, he did. Let's look at one fact. Southern California, people who lost their homes in Southern California in the fires, they still can't rebuild their homes because of the insane regulations that failed Gavin Newsom inflicts on the country. I mean, that's just one aspect of Gavin. Look at San Francisco.
We had an op-ed that was named H2 in the country, H2, for saying Trump should strike a deal with Newsom and Bass on rebuilding because of the fires. And I totally agree with you on that. That's something he could do as a real estate agent.
Yeah. Let's introduce my panel.
As a real estate maker.
Yeah. Linda Jubilee, Paul Richards and Leo Curtis here. Who wants to speak to Bob Weiner?
I mean, can I just say, Bob, Ghislaine Maxwell is a woman with no morally redeeming features.
Well, wait a minute.
Does anyone believe anything she says?
Wait a minute. She stood by a man. I think that's a morally redeeming feature.
You got to ask.
Yeah, she stood by him while he did what?
Stood by him while he did what, Leo?
What's that?
Stood by him while he did what?
Stood by her man.
Yeah, stood by him while he did bad things. I mean, if that's not an absolute mensch.
Any more?
Can I just say, Bob, I was the Fox News Asia Bureau chief when the Monica Lewinsky scandal was ensuing. So there was a lot of talk about Bill Clinton's morally redeeming features or lack of them. He must be implicated in this scandal.
Okay, Steny Hoyer, a lifetime friend of mine who was the majority leader, said to me that Bill Clinton had a lot of great qualities, but one of them was not dividing his personal life from his political power. And no question that he was flawed and had a Shakespearean, in your beautiful country, flaw on that regard. And a lot of people in power do, regardless of their careers, but he certainly did. I agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, he was a brilliant communicator, and I actually think he was a great politician. But he had his central flaw, didn't he?
And you know what happened with Bill Clinton? Because I talked with him as he left. He left with 70% popularity. I was on the courthouse steps saying this is Big Brother at its worst about Ken Starr. When he subpoenaed me, they tried every one. I was the third witness out of the 100 that went in. And we actually got the better of Ken Starr. I think that by the way, let's get to something we can do about now. All those people that Trump is suing, they should sue back. My lesson from Ken Starr was if you fight back legally, you can get a lot of press and by the way, if they countersue, then all the stuff that Trump did comes back out in the public light. It would be like the January 6th hearing. So Bolton and Schiff and Letitia James and Comey's daughter and Lisa Cook and John Brennan, if they countersued for prosecutorial overreach, which is what Mickey Cantor called me and said I should do when Ken Starr went after me, if they went after him for that and he had to do depositions or testify, he's up what's creek because all of the evidence comes right back out.
Okay, Bob, before I let you go, what do you make of the sort of ever-growing influence of the US, the Trump admin on the UK? Because, of course, J.D. Vance was here on holiday a few weeks ago and the Labour government here reversed. They wanted Apple on iPhones to drop the highest level of encryption. That's been reversed. Nigel Farage, the leader of Reform UK, who was the party leading the polls here, he's going to Congress in a week or two to speak about free speech. What do you make of this sort of interlink between the UK and the US now in each other's politics?
I loved what you reported, that Starmer wants to deport failed failed asylum seekers, because that's the way to go, not grab them when they come to court, regardless of whether they win or lose, before their case is adjudged, and throw them out as though they're guilty of everything, when what you have is like the guy who just was released, who was 16 when he was tied to a human trafficking group. He ran to the United States to escape from it. He wasn't part of it. He was trying to get out of here, and the judge never convicted him of anything in connection with that. The guy that Senator Chris Van Hollen, was a hero to, and all that. So that, I think what you're doing, and I also think Farage, by the way, 5 flights a day out of. So what the United States' big mistake was, what Biden's big mistake was ignoring the immigration issue. And he lost a lot of ground by not paying any attention to it. And now Trump has done something good. See, this can come out of these lips too, in zeroing out the border and making sure that there's a zero border crossing. So I totally agree with the. Well, you are special, even though you gave us COVID. You are special.
We
you
gave
sent
you
it
COVID.
over, by the way, on your
We're
planes.
not the Chinese.
You did, on your planes. From China to Britain on the planes, and then to the United States. I've joked about that with you guys.
Yeah.
But that's. So that's you are the special country. You are the home of democracy, which Trump, in all the ways we've just discussed here tonight, is trying to take away, even our elections. He's going to try that. I don't think the Supreme Court will even come close to letting him go that far in terms of abusing the elections and claiming there's a national emergency and creating a war, and therefore we can't vote during the election. He's going to try that. He ain't going to succeed on that one.
Bob, I was about to say, well, at least you're not totally ravaged by Trump derangement syndrome, but then you went in on that final rant, so I'll take that. I'll take that back. Bob Weiner, thank you very much. Really appreciate your company, my friend, and we'll catch up soon. Cheers, Bob. Coming up next, another council's caught taking down St George's flags. Of course they are. Any ideas where that was? We'll reveal all just after the break on Ben Leo Tonight, late edition.
Hello there, welcome to your latest weather forecast from the Met Office, and high pressure continues to dominate our weather pattern at the moment. Tonight it'll be mostly dry with some clear spells, but also a little bit of rain across the far northwest of the UK. Weather fronts nearby here, but high pressure generally holding on through the rest of the weekend into Bank Holiday Monday as well. It's been fairly cloudy across the UK today. It remains so this evening and overnight, but the cloud will break up at times to allow some clear spells. We could see some mist and fog patches developing across parts of England and Wales. A weather front will give some rain across Northern Ireland into western Scotland. Temperatures for most will remain in double figures. Could be a little chilly first thing across southwestern parts of the UK, but here any mist and fog patches soon clearing away. Across northern Scotland, we've got a west-east split with the weather to start the day. Outbreaks of rain down the western side of Scotland. Some of this could be heavy at times, but sunshine in the east. Northern Ireland, largely cloudy to start tomorrow morning, but should be largely dry here. And then across England and Wales, some mist and fog patches. Some low cloud in places, perhaps thick enough for a little bit of light rain and drizzle, particularly along some eastern coasts. As we head through the day, it should be largely dry. There should be more in the way of sunny spells across England and Wales. The cloud will come and go at times, and Northern Ireland also brightening up with some sunny spells here. This weather front just lingers across western parts of Scotland, only pushing slowly further north and eastwards, but the rain's starting to ease on it. Temperature-wise, a little higher compared to today, reaching the mid-20s in places, so feeling a little warmer, particularly in that sunshine. And then for Bank Holiday Monday, southerly winds will draw in some warmer air. We should see more in the way of sunshine, particularly across central eastern areas. Cloud eventually picking up across the far west later on in the day, and temperatures well above average, 27, 28 Celsius, ahead of some cooler, wetter and windier weather starting to move in later on in the week. See you soon.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Welcome back to Ben Leo Tonight, late edition. Here's a story for you. Labour-run Brighton and Hove City Council has become the latest to demand the removal of St George's Cross flags from its streets. This week, flags have been taken down by a number of local authorities, including Tower Hamlets, of course, in East London, Birmingham, of course, after campaigners attached them as part of an online movement called Operation Raise the Colours. Brighton and Hove confirms that flags put up along the East Sussex's resort seafront, which is now home to Angela Rayner, £800,000 flat, would be removed in line with the 1980s Highways Act. Leo Curse. That means Angela Rayner cannot hoist a St George's flag from her new 800k flat.
No, it's as if she wants it as a Labour politician.
She can do that. Can she? It's private. What they're taking them down is on the lamppost.
Well, how come Palestinian flags, which isn't even a real country, by the way, it didn't even exist until, in fact, it still doesn't exist. How come Palestine flags, which is just like a bit of the flag of Jordan, they were allowed to fly from lampposts across this country for months and months and months. But as soon as it's the flag of this actual country, all of a sudden, these politicians find laws that enable them to be taken down.
I just assumed they were supporting the England women's football, rugby football team. Isn't that what this is? Isn't that what it's about? Go the Roses, whatever they're called.
Brighton and Hove is one of the most deranged councils, whether it's run by the Greens or Labour. They are just...
It has got a form, hasn't it?
I have to say, but I live in neighbouring West Sussex, but Brighton and Hove is full of nutters, if I may say so myself. When the Green Council ran the council some years ago, it had the highest rates of, the lowest rates of recycling anywhere in Europe. So that was from the Green
well, and a
Council.
massive bin strike, if you remember, and all the rubbish piled up all over the place under the Greens, and it was, the Seagulls had a field day, but it was terrible.
What's the problem with the flags being on lampposts? I'm still not sure that
It can block
what? Block the light?
Visibility, block the light, health and safety. But, I mean, it seems like we've got a lot of people in the country who don't really want to be part of England. They want to remake Britain as, some sort of multicultural utopia. I mean, it won't be a utopia at all. So why don't we balkanise Britain and put all the migrants in the areas with the lefties, and then everywhere else can be a right-wing paradise?
Why don't we paint the flag on the lampposts?
Yeah, well, driving...
They'll probably do for criminal damage.
Driving in tonight, I saw so many England flags, so many Union flags, and it was great.
I love it.
I'm Scottish.
Yes.
There's a story I read online, so it's probably not true, of a lad who's been taking them all down and then sticking them on eBay and then selling them out. So he's made an absolute fortune.
That's quite funny.
On a more serious note, I love it. Do you remember Bob Villan's performance at Glastonbury, where he was saying, I heard you want your country back, F that. What is it? You're not getting your country back. Something like that. Yeah. And this is the perfect response. It's a peaceful response. It's patriotic. People all up and down the country. I said earlier, I was driving along the M25 earlier. Every gantry, every junction had a Union Jack or a St George's flag. The big question is, Leo, should it be St George's flags or Union?
Or the Sultan?
I think they both work. I like Union flags. It's got all the nations of Britain in it. But yeah, I mean, I think although we think it's peaceful at the moment, we've seen violence in the last couple of nights with allegedly petrol bombs thrown at people who are trying to put up flags, and guys putting up flags attacked. So is it going to stay peaceful? I think we're sliding into a sort of almost like Northern Irish Troubles.
Yes, well, so people taking them down have been attacked as well. Right. So you're damned in you do if you're damned if you don't.
But it's good when that happens.
Right, yeah, because that agrees with what you think, yeah.
I'm sure we condemn violence on all sides.
Oh, that was a joke.
Yeah.
I know. That's the state of affairs these days.
No, what Ben said was a joke.
Yeah. Right, let's move on. The Housing Secretary, Angela Rayner, she's got a nice new flat. Have we mentioned that? £800,000 in Hove. Angela Rayner has postponed her verdict on Beijing's proposed mega embassy in London after China refused to clarify very mysterious and redacted sections of the building plans. So the Chinese authorities rebuffed Rayner's 2-week ultimatum to explain why 5 internal drawings, I assume they're architect's drawings, were censored, declaring such disclosure not necessary or appropriate. The contentious development at Royal Mint Court opposite the Tower of London would become Europe's largest Chinese diplomatic facility, spanning approximately 2 football pitches. So can I just get this right, Linda? The Chinese have refused to unredact 5 sets of drawings for their mega embassy.
Yeah, and that's because of what's going on in those areas, I guarantee you. But what I don't understand is why we've allowed them... I mean, apart from its proximity to various data centres and to the financial centre of this country, apart from all of that, and I worked in Hong Kong, as I said, as an Asia Bureau Chief for 5 years, so I used to go frequently to Shanghai and Beijing. What no one seems to talk about is why the Chinese wanted this particular building. And they want this particular building because it gives them face. Because this is an iconic building. It's the old Royal Mint, and they want this building. And to my mind, I don't think they should have been allowed to have it. They should have been given planning permission to build a brand new building somewhere else in London, but not inhabit the old Royal Mint.
I mean, the Americans got shoved out to 9 Elms, didn't they?
Yeah, so they got moved. They're perfectly happy.
Yeah, exactly.
In a bomb-proof building down in Vauxhall.
Taken out of Grosvenor Square. I'd put them in the Chinese embassy in a trading estate in Slough or something.
Nothing wrong with Slough, home of the Mars Bar, of course.
The office.
If you walk into Slough, well, if you walk...
You know it well, don't you, Ben?
I do. I did a little piece down there. If you walk maybe within half a mile of the Mars Bar factory, you can get the waft of the Mars Bar fulfilling there. So that's my fond memory of Slough. Very nice place indeed. So what's the latest, Paul, with the embassy? What, do you know?
Well, it's going through planning law. So there's, you know, any of these big planning applications have to be looked at with great scrutiny. But it's ultimately the political choice is that it can be called in and it can be turned down at a political level, a cabinet level. I remember doing these myself when I was a special advisor at the department.
Is that likely, do you think?
And well, I think the mood music is increasingly that they're looking for reasons to turn it down. So I'm only guessing. I don't know, but I just feel that this redacted, you know, what on earth is going on in the basement sort of stuff is just building up. We're being pitch-rolled towards a decision which is going to get turned down.
Can there be a judicial review at some point? Is that the final port of call?
Well, I think so, but ultimately it goes to the Secretary of State who has the powers to say no, and I just think that's where we're heading with this, for all the security reasons and all the other reasons we've talked about.
What do you think, Leo, is going on in the basements of this proposed Chinese mega embassy?
Seriously, oh my God, I mean, because China has had secret police offices basically operating with impunity in Canada and in the UK. People, Chinese political dissidents, people who've genuinely claimed refuge here instead of gaming the system to come here and work as a delivery driver. They've filmed themselves being followed around London by Chinese secret police. And, I mean, it's horrifying that basically an enemy nation can operate with such impunity within our borders. You know, it shows, you know, with the Russian Skripal poisonings and with China doing this, I mean, we seem to have no control over our country whatsoever.
Yeah. OK, stick with us on Ben Leo tonight, latest edition. We're going to stick with the theme of Angela Rayner tonight. It's a hat-trick of stories involving her, a separate story. She's blocked a move for Sadiq Khan, of course, the Mayor of London, the very decent, high-performing, high-calibre, high-grade Mayor of London, from returning to Parliament as an MP. More on that in just a tick.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
It's a bit of a mixed bag across Europe as we go through the next few days. There is some rain pushing into parts of Portugal, also affecting southwestern Spain as we go into tomorrow, but most of Spain actually having a largely fine day. A few showery outbreaks affecting parts of Italy, Greece and maybe Turkey too, but these won't be as heavy nor as thundery as we've seen recently. And then through into next week, whilst most places will stay largely fine, across some areas, France, Germany for example, the risk of some heavy thundery downpour.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits. You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it. That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless. But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show. Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Late Edition. Now, another Angela Rayner story. Aren't you lucky? The Deputy Prime Minister has moved to block Sir Sadiq Khan, the Mayor of London, from returning to Parliament as an MP. That's amid claims that she's manoeuvring against her rivals for the Labour leadership. She, Angela Rayner, has tabled a bill that would prevent anybody from serving as the London Mayor and an MP at the same time, affecting Sir Sadiq, of course. And Miss Rayner's department insisted that the change, which also applies to the mayors of other cities as well, is designed so mayors can, quote, focus on serving their local populations. Paul, so other mayors, i.e. Andy Burnham, would be affected as well?
Yeah, and I think we did have there's a guy called Dan Jarvis, who's a chum of mine, a former paratroop major, who is a minister now, but he was an MP and the elected mayor at the same time, and I think he would argue it's hard to do two jobs at once. So this law is designed to just disentangle these two roles, either you're elected mayor or you're an elected MP, and to say you're one or the other, but you can't do both at the same time. Now, it's been conflated as to be all about being Sadiq Khan, but it actually applies to all the elected mayors across the country, regardless of party. And I think it makes some sense, doesn't it? Do one or the other, but not both?
Oh, I think it makes sense, but I've got no doubt she's clearing the path of being PM.
Well, I mean, those two things are not contradictory. I think her being Prime Minister and this sensible piece of legislation are not necessarily in contradiction.
Yeah, and I'm not sure that Sadiq Khan would be much competition to her, but it's almost like a power flex to show that, you know, she's pulling the strings already. She's making the big decisions. But I do think, you know, Sadiq he's taken a feather from Reform's cap and he's decided to look at where efficiencies can be found. So if he can do two jobs for one salary, if you can be an MP and a mayor, maybe they could all do that. Maybe all the MPs could get second jobs. I mean, Angela Rayner is getting a second job as a landlord, so why can't they all do it?
Miss Sadiq Khan doesn't want to be an MP, as far as I know. He was the MP, a very good MP for Tooting all those years.
I think Andy Burnham, though, would be serious.
I mean, Andy Burnham, I think, does have a certain amount of ambition left in him, shall we say?
Who would you prefer as Prime Minister now, Leo? Keir Starmer or Angela Rayner?
Angela Rayner, I mean, it's... can I have some other options, please? This is like the buffet. Rachel Reeves. Buffet at school. I'd don't really want either of those options.
Paul,
I'd rather have Javier Milei, and then he could get rid of all the other MPs.
Could you see a Rayner leadership bid anytime soon?
I don't think there's going to be one before the next general election, to be honest, because I think Keir Starmer has got a pretty strong grip on the Labour Party. I mean, maybe not on public opinion right now, but certainly on the Labour Party. And his MPs are on board.
And it's not possible to have the same kind of leadership challenges that the Conservative Party have. I mean, it's not structured the same way.
No, it's really hard to do, actually. And,
hard.
Do you not think, though, that Labour... I mean, I'm not just saying this because I dislike the government, but do you not think, though, as a Labour man, Paul, that... I mean, I look at Keir Starmer in the same situation as Rishi Sunak just before the election last year, where you are, as far as I'm concerned, maybe I'm wrong, you're just doomed. You're not going to win an election with you in charge. Like, you're doomed to fail. We all knew Labour were going to win that election. And I think the same of Labour now, even though the election's in...
But one thing, I think what Labour has learned is that if you just swap out the leaders endlessly like the Conservatives did, it doesn't do you any good, necessarily.
No, it didn't.
And it led to an even worse defeat, probably. Yeah. So I think that's the lesson learned, surely.
But although I think the Conservative Party would change its leader.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Is Kemi doomed? I quite like Kemi.
I think you like her because she's doomed.
Yes. Yeah, more power to her elbow. That's what I say. Keep going.
Who do you think will win the next election?
Oh, Reform. I've got it. I mean, Reform could win it with just planks of wood as candidates.
Linda, one word. Who's going to win?
Oh.
Quick, push for time.
Well, I think it's too close to call.
I think Labour can win the next election.
All right, long way to go, though, of course. Let's look at the front pages for one last time tonight, starting with The Sun. Angela Rayner, three pads Rayner. Deputy PM buys third home for more than £700,000 in Hove, unfortunately. The Man on Sunday, Rayner shells out £800,000 for her third home. The Independent, rapist nurse was allowed to carry on working for a year. It's a scandal hit nursing and midwifery council story. The Sunday Express, good story actually. Border fast, outrage at bonus payouts. So despite 55 or 50,000 small boat migrants coming in the last year, 111,000 asylum claims, it's a record. Some mandarins at the border force saw their salaries rise by 24% with 15k bonuses. The Telegraph, Rachel Reeves heading for an IMF bailout. That's according to one economist. 1970s on the horizon. The Mirror, Princess Diana dragged into Epstein's scandal. This is the transcript of the Ghislaine Maxwell interview with the DOJ. The Observer, something on Epping. And the Sunday Times, Keir Starmer to curb judges' powers in asylum cases. That's all for tonight. Thank you for your company. Really appreciate it. Thank you to the panel, Linda, Paul, Leo. I'll see you tomorrow night from 9 p.m. Sweet dreams. Good night.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, welcome to your latest weather forecast from the Met Office, and high pressure continues to dominate our weather pattern at the moment. Tonight it'll be mostly dry with some clear spells, but also a little bit of rain across the far northwest of the UK. Weather fronts nearby here, but high pressure generally holding on through the rest of the weekend into Bank Holiday Monday as well. It's been fairly cloudy across the UK today. It remains so this evening and overnight, but the cloud will break up at times to allow some clear spells. We could see some mist and fog patches developing across parts of England and Wales. A weather front will give some rain across Northern Ireland into western Scotland. Temperatures for most will remain in double figures. Could be a little chilly first thing across southwestern parts of the UK, but here any mist and fog patches soon clearing away. Across northern Scotland we've got a west-east split with the weather to start the day. Outbreaks of rain down the western side of Scotland. Some of this could be heavy at times, but sunshine in the east. Northern Ireland largely cloudy to start tomorrow morning, but should be largely dry here. And then across England and Wales, some mist and fog patches, some low cloud in places, perhaps thick enough for a little bit of light rain and drizzle, particularly along some eastern coasts. As we head through the day, it should be largely dry. There should be more in the way of sunny spells across England and Wales. The cloud will come and go at times, and Northern Ireland also brightening up with some sunny spells here. This weather front just lingers across western parts of Scotland, only pushing slowly further north and eastwards, but the rain's starting to ease on it. Temperature-wise, a little higher compared to today, reaching the mid-20s in places, so feeling a little warmer, particularly in that sunshine. And then for Bank Holiday Monday, southerly winds will draw in some warmer air. We should see more in the way of sunshine, particularly across central eastern areas. Cloud eventually picking up across the far west later on in the day, and temperatures well above average, 27, 28 Celsius, ahead of some cooler, wetter and windier weather starting to move in later on in the week. See you soon.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's the final week to see how you could win your mortgage or rent paid for a whole year. That's a cash lump sum equivalent to 12 of your monthly mortgage or rent payments, right up to a whopping £20,000. Plus, we'll add an extra £5,000 on top for good measure. Make sure you don't miss out as lines close on the 29th of August. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB15 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 29th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
Because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes and Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Well, it's Saturday night, and this is the Saturday 5, the UK's biggest Saturday night TV show. I'm, of course, Alex Armstrong, along with Dr. Renee, Kai Wilshaw, and two new faces who haven't done this show before. Lauren McEvitt, who has been on GB News, of course, and Chris Cork, social media superstar, making his debut on the channel tonight. Well, saying that, tonight on the show, Chris.
Being patriotic isn't racist.
Keir Starmer chooses migrants over women and girls.
Lucy Connolly was Keir Starmer's political prisoner.
Rachel Reeves and how many different ways she can find to kill the country.
And don't deport migrants, deport reform.
Oh my goodness. All right, it's 6 p.m. and this is the Saturday 5. Yes, welcome to the Saturday 5, everybody. Love hearing your says. Let's get them in tonight. What do you think about Kai's topic? You're going to stay tuned for that one because I'm telling you, he's told me a little bit about it. He wants to deport reform. That's what he wants to do. He wants to deport reform. We should actually change the debate. Should we deport Kai? What do we think? That could be a good head-to-head, actually. Lauren, thanks for coming on the show. It's lovely to have you.
It's nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
Two Welsh people on the Saturday 5.
Well, an honorary Welsh.
We've put them on that side of the debate panel tonight because you never know. There could be some lineups, but from what I saw, I think your political views might be quite different. We'll see.
Yeah.
Chris, social media sensation, thanks for joining us. Good to have you here tonight.
Thanks for having me.
Taking a break from the filming on the podcast, of course. Good, lovely to have you here. And of course, this is all about what you think too. Send your views in gbnews.com/your say. Don't forget to get your questions in for Ask the Five. It's my favourite part of the show. And sadly, it's the last time I'm going to do Ask the Five. So we'll get some more of that later. But I really want your best Ask the Fives ever. Let's make it the best Ask the Five we possibly can. So these are questions specifically for us, for the panel here. You can ask us anything you like. It could be our favourite movie, our favourite ice cream, anything you want. But please get them in and put Ask the Five in your comments because I would love to read them out at 8 o'clock. So stay tuned for that. It's going to be a really fun show. And, of course, vote in the poll. Today we're asking, should sports teams turn their back on Israel's national anthem? Should we let Russia and Ukraine just fight it out? And should King Charles and Prince Harry make it all up? Well, gbnews.com/poll. But before we get started for what's going to be a very lively few hours, just Saturday Night News with the brilliant Lewis Mackenzie.
Good afternoon. It's just after 6 o'clock. Here are your latest GB News headlines. Tensions were high as hundreds of protesters and counter-protesters gathered outside hotels housing asylum seekers across the UK. Demonstrations were held in major towns and cities in England, including Bristol, Liverpool, Newcastle and central London. Protesters with the group Stand Up to Racism were also out in force. Nigel Farage has vowed that if he becomes Prime Minister, 5 deportation flights would leave the UK every day under plans to tackle illegal immigration. In an interview with The Times, the Reform UK leader says Britain is facing what he calls a massive crisis, and the only way forward is to detain and deport all migrants who arrive illegally. His plans would take Britain out of the European Convention on Human Rights and opt out of the UN Convention Against Torture and other international agreements. Ghislaine Maxwell has told US officials she never saw President Donald Trump act inappropriately. In an interview with the US Justice Department in July, the convicted sex trafficker said President Trump was, quote, always very cordial and very kind. Miss Maxwell, who is serving a 20-year prison sentence for helping Jeffrey Epstein sexually abuse underage girls, also denies any knowledge of a client list. She also added that she does not believe that Epstein died by suicide. 3 people are in a life-threatening condition after a suspected arson attack at a restaurant in East London. Crews rescued 5 people from the building on Woodford Avenue in Ilford late last night. 3 women and 2 men were treated for burns and smoke inhalation. All of them have been taken to hospital. The Met Police and London Fire Brigade are investigating, with no arrests being made just yet. Lyle Menendez, the older of the notorious brothers who were jailed for murdering their parents in Los Angeles in 1989, has been denied parole. It comes a day after his brother Eric Menendez received the same ruling. The pair, now ages 57 and 54, were given life sentences without the chance of parole 30 years ago after killing their parents with a shotgun at their Beverly Hills home. They claim they acted in self-defense. And finally, one of the world's most active volcanoes erupted again. Hawaii's Kilauea volcano started shooting arcs of lava 100 feet into the air early this morning. This marks Kilauea's 31st eruption since December, with the molten rock contained within the summit crater, therefore posing no threat to nearby homes. Well, those are your latest GB News headlines for now. I'm Lewis Mackenzie. More from me in an hour's time.
Tune into GB News Radio wherever you are, online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
We're back with the Saturday 5 now. I'm going to read out some of your says because I try to do this I say this every week, but I read more